I was diagnosed with it when I was in first grade. I was 6 years old.
Hmm.
6 years old, and FSHD is a type of muscular dystrophy that affects the face, shoulder, arms, and ankle. But in infantile, like in my case, it affects the legs and abdomen. Right?
Yeah, I think primarily it affects the scapula, the face, the core. Most people, but Sam, infantile onset's normally a larger deletion and it's more severe. Most infantile onset FSHD patients are affected more severely than the later onset type of FSHD. So Sam had the infantile onset. He when he was first born, he had a problem with his hearing, and they thought it was just fluid. And then I took him back 3 weeks later, and they said it was fine. And then when he was 3, I took him in for his preschool screening, and he failed the hearing again. So he went into speech therapy with preschool, and his speech therapist then said that she thought something was wrong. He had some sort of a palsy in his face. Um, and then we took him to actually an orthodontist for his mouth, and then he asked if he could raise his eyebrows. And we were like, of course he can raise his eyebrows. And then he couldn't. So they referred us to um, a neurologist who did the blood test, and it came back positive for FSH. And so that's the first. He's the first one in our family. It's a genetic disease, but no one else on either side of the family had it, has ever had it that we know of. So it's new to our family and to us. So at that point, we started doing research, trying to find out more about it. Um, at first, I didn't even realize that it was muscular dystrophy. I thought it was some other disease because I didn't really understand. And I thought that really there was only one type of muscular dystrophy. I didn't understand that there are multiple types. So that's sort of how we found out. And the progression of disease. So he hit all his milestones when he was a baby. He didn't crawl like up. And then when you look back in hindsight, I'm like, there was sort of some indicators that I guess I just didn't know to look for. He didn't crawl upright. He kind of did a little crawl. We kind of call it his marine crawl. And he didn't smile a lot, but when you're with him every day, you don't really notice that he doesn't smile a lot. And like when we come home, I was in the Air Force and we'd come home on leave, and his aunts and uncles and stuff was like, wow, he's such a serious baby. I'm like, no, he's not. He laughs. And, it didn't occur to me at that point that anything could be wrong. He walked and ran around, and I couldn't imagine that he had any sort of serious disease. So we took him in because when he would smile, when he was small, when he was young, he would kind of just jut his bottom teeth out like to smile. And his teeth were kind of sticking out a little bit, and so we went to it was an orthodontist. His dad took him to an orthodontist, and he's like, yeah, there's something else going on. And again, they asked him if he could raise his eyebrows, and he's like, yeah, he can raise his eyebrows. And then when he asked Sam to raise his eyebrows, he couldn't do it. So right away he knew, and I don't know how this dentist knew about FSH or this orthodontist, but he said, I think it's, and he said FSH, and he's like, you need to go see a neurologist. And he was with his dad in Oklahoma at that time. So he came back home, and I got him an appointment at the University of Arizona with the neurology department, and the neurologist did just a short kind of assessment of him. She's like, yeah, I think we need to go ahead with the blood work, with the lab work. So they took his blood and they sent it off. So yeah, he got diagnosed pretty quickly. I've heard a lot of stories where people struggle and they're not sure. And then we started tying it in. The hearing loss was part of the FSH, and other things that we didn't know at the time that they were indicators of the disease. Before Sammy, because hindsight, I look back, and before he was diagnosed, there were so many things that I pushed him to do, like riding a bike. I'm like, you're 5, you need to be able to ride a bike. And I pushed him up and down the road forever, and he kept crashing. I'm like, why can't you ride a bike? I don't understand, because he has an older brother, and he isn't affected with FSH, thank goodness. And I'm just like, I don't, and then when I look back, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I feel so bad that I just, some things I just didn't know. I didn't realize, like, I didn't realize that I was pushing it too hard, or